Hi, I'm Brittany Ashley, your host of Breaking Norms, Building Dreams, your guide through this transformative journey in both business and life. This is your place crafted for dreamers, doers, or anyone who has been told they can't. Get ready as we challenge those narratives together. You're tuning in live to the United Public Radio Network, airing on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We are streaming on all the popular platforms every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me for a candid and thought-provoking conversation celebrating your unique journey because you are worth it. Hello, everyone. It's been a hot minute since I've been live with all of you. So excited to be here on a Monday, June 9th with Heather. I'll just do a little welcome intro. Welcome to Breaking Norms, Building Dreams. I'm your host, Brittany Ashley, and we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 and 107.7 in New Orleans. Get ready to escape the next hour as we break norms and build dreams today with Heather. I'm so excited to have you today, Heather.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm so grateful to be here.
Like I mentioned to you and everybody's that if they're new here or re-listening to the show, it's been a hot minute. Like I haven't done the show live since April 14th. So I feel like I'm like brand new into the game today.
Perfect. And I don't have to feel afraid. We can feel it together. Feel the nerves together.
Yes, it's a safe space here.
Love it. I'm really excited for our conversation.
So excited. For everyone, this is Heather. Meet Heather. She's a holistic transformation coach and the powerhouse behind Own It Empire. With nearly 20 years of experience in human potential, she's on a mission to help conscious entrepreneurs become their best selves and build the life and business of their dreams. Heather's a speaker, author, podcast, and an expert in NLP, hypnotherapy, and holistic wellness. She's here to make uncommon knowledge common, so to help us turn big goals into reality. I had to shorten your bio, by the way. I didn't.
All good. I know it's been almost 20 years studying human potential and performance. So I try to put it in 100 words of everything I've done and I do is not that easy. So yeah, NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, certified nutritional practitioner, retired kinesiologist and personal trainer, and much, much more.
I'm so excited to have you today because we've met along, has it been only this year? I feel like I've known you so long, but.
Yeah, we met at the forum. It was amazing. And then I had the opportunity to connect with you and have you come on our Own It Show podcast. And that was so amazing. And I've really been looking forward to this conversation today and to get to be on your show.
I'm so excited to have you. Well, maybe you can just tell our listeners, viewers, a little bit more on like who you are and how you started.
Absolutely. Well, as you heard, I'm a retired kinesiologist and personal trainer. So that was my first business in August 29th. It'll be my 15-year anniversary of the first day of having my business open and serving clients. And so I really saw that people weren't being treated like a whole, that things were missing. And I love the human body. So I got to start out as a kinesiologist and then added into my repertoire holistic nutrition. I actually was struggling with my health at that time. And so not only was I going to study to help heal myself, I also really wanted to be able to offer that to my clients. And so I'm really grateful that I was able to help heal myself through nutrition school. I studied at the Institute of Holistic Nutrition, and I like to say that they saved my life. Because also during that time, I suffered from multiple concussions. And so that led me to start serving and studying brain and spinal cord injuries. And after I graduated, I had the opportunity to be a nutritionist for people with acquired brain injuries and spinal cord injuries, and also worked as a life skills coach for people with acquired brain injuries. And this was a little bit different training than I was used to. I was really used to a lot more high performance, working with high performers, top CEOs, athletes, and it is a totally different coaching. You really, really need to learn to meet people where they're at. And it really changed my whole perspective on helping people achieve their goals and what goals could look like. For that client, it might be getting out of bed that day. For another client, it might be to have the endurance to run a corporate global empire. And so I love to just meet my clients where they're at with what their goals are. And in my healing journey, I started to realize that just working with the physical wasn't the only answer. And so I started to study advanced spiritual training. I was able to help heal my spinal injury and do things that I hadn't been able to do in years. And that really kind of just opened up the door for me to start to study and learn more.
Yeah.
I studied with Bob Proctor, which was amazing, and loved all his work, and studied at Landmark, which introduced me to NLP. And neurolinguistics programming is amazing, and it really has changed my life and gave me my power back. And so I'm super stoked to now get to be a self and business mastery coach for conscious entrepreneurs so that we can fill the gap in the world, because there is a lot of money in the wrong hands of the people that put profit over people and planet. So I'm here to help the conscious entrepreneurs who do the opposite.
I love that. And I think that's why you and I have always just interconnected, because I started my business out of passion versus profit. And I find those who start from the passion side of things really end up kind of building their own community together.
Yeah, it is amazing, all the incredible conscious entrepreneurs like you that I've met along the way. And when people like us can lock arms, because we do end up being like the 5 people we surround ourselves with the most, right? So we do want to lock arms with those conscious entrepreneurs and build a community that is going to leave that legacy and change the world for the better.
100%. Well, let's go through, because some people might not even know what NLP, timeline therapy, because there's a lot of a background that you have here. So maybe we can start in like little pieces so everyone can kind of understand just how amazing you are and how they can also work with you.
Thank you. Well, of course, I work with clients online, conscious entrepreneurs, through group programs as well as one-on-one coaching. And with the one-on-one coaching, the main tool that I use is timeline therapy. And it's my favorite. When I did my practitioner course for neurolinguistics programming, timeline therapy, and hypnotherapy, I was really going for the neurolinguistics programming and hypno. I didn't know what timeline therapy was. And when I was in the course, we had to do the theory and then the practical. So after I did my first rapid breakthrough with timeline therapy, I felt like I came back and knew nothing. Like I felt like my whole world was just blown open, and everything just started to change for me. And I started to completely change so much that I built my one-on-one practice around that one tool. Now we have a binder like this. It's 130 hours of education that we study. And this is the one tool of all of them that I chose, because it truly begins to work with the root cause. And as a holistic practitioner, that's really what we want to do. We don't want to treat symptoms. We want to treat root cause. And that has us talk about the unconscious mind. So with timeline therapy, we're accessing the unconscious mind to be able to change and release negative emotions and change limiting decisions where we chose to believe in something, whether it's I'm unworthy, I'm not enough. All of these things are in our unconscious mind. And 90 to 98% of our thoughts, feelings, actions are unconscious and habitual. So if we really, truly want to change our results on the outside, it all begins to work with the unconscious mind. So now I get to do that online, as well as teach those conscious entrepreneurs to build up their self-worth, learn the skill set in business so they can grow and scale and leave that impact that they want to.
Amazing. And I find well, that's why I kind of dived in a little bit more on my journey too, being more of a certified business coach. Like I'm always adding on certifications, because I love to learn to make sure that we empower the individual when they're building a business, that it's authentic to them. And I think I mentioned in the past of shows, the whole reason why I started the coaching journey was, one, to help the moms on my team to kind of let go a little bit. Like they're also talented, but also too, when I worked with a lot of the business owners, I felt like they were always stuck in some kind of form of fashion of, yes, I'm ready to scale, but not really. Or I have money trauma over here, or like there's something always like holding them back. And so instead of just giving them like a solution on how to build a business, like you can only give so many people a solution, but if they're not unlocking those kind of mindset, those blockages, like you're not able to kind of move the needle in other areas.
Yeah, actually. So we have an unconscious glass ceiling, a self-image of what we're worth, what we can earn, what our love life would look like, everything about us. And that's unconscious. And then we have our programming. So just imagine you're like a computer, and the first 7 years of your life, you came in almost as a blank slate. And those first 7 years, you started to get your computer program installed. Then you go and test this model of the world that you were taught. You go and test it out in the world. And then you start to build your personality. And so unless we change that programming and that self-image in the unconscious mind, we actually will have behaviors that cause what we call secondary gains. And the secondary gain may be to validate the belief that, see, you aren't an entrepreneur, you are an employee. So even if you're given the skill set, that's why we do skill set and mindset, and both go hand in hand. There's people out there saying it's just your mind. Believe me, without the skill set, you're going nowhere. Right? Special acquired knowledge and skill set is essential. And also, if we don't change the mindset, the skill set isn't enough, because we will have behaviors that, and we don't do it like, we aren't trying to sabotage ourselves on purpose. We do it unconsciously. Our ego is trying to keep us safe in the same. And so when we go to get the goal, do something different, go beyond that unconscious glass ceiling, we will begin to have behaviors that will bring us back to the same, to have that secondary gain, to see, you can't be an entrepreneur, or see, you're not enough. And this is happening constantly all the time for those who are going to get the goal. And we really can change the unconscious mind through auto-suggestion, so the spaced repetition of an idea or thought over time. And we're all being programmed and auto-suggested. It only takes a couple suggestions to start to change your behavior, and you don't even have to be consciously aware that these suggestions are being given. And so it's time for us to really start to gain the knowledge so that we can make the changes that we desire and actually live by design instead of by default.
Yeah.
It's just so important.
I love that. And sometimes, like, building a business is so hard in a nutshell. It's fluent. It's not like a straight line. Like, it's like those, there's individuals out there that say, like, come into my program and I'm going to get you to 6 figures. Like, those, they just drive me bananas. Like, it takes time. It really does. And like they say, like, Rome wasn't built in a day. And so I always, like, when I did a speaking event, I think I told you this, Heather, like, is it 2 weeks now? See, it's been like a whirlwind of 2025. Why no one's seen me that much this year. But I went over to Vancouver. So anyone listening, I am absolutely horrified at public speaking, like horrified. But last year and this year, I've tried to push myself out of my comfort zone. And usually, like, talking to what you're just saying there, normally I would just be like, no, I'm not good enough. I shouldn't be a public speaker. But that's the old narrative that I would tell myself. So I'm trying to push myself out of my comfort zone because I want to empower others on, like, if you have dyslexia or if you have imposter syndrome, like, those conversations, like, really give me, like, that passion to kind of do what I'm doing too. It gives me so much joy to talk to others about it. And so, like, I push myself so much. So I did a speaking event at the Vancouver Startup 2 weeks ago. Actually, this is my second year. So last year I did the panel speaking. And then this year they're like, oh, you get a full hour and a half of speaking. Amazing. I was like, oh, sure. And they didn't tell me I could have had speakers I could have brought with me. But you know what? Like, my mind was like, yes, okay. So I made a full presentation and I was like, I can't speak for an hour and a half. Like, that's just bananas. Like, no one wants to hear me speak for that long. So, like, that's, again, me telling myself that, right? And so I made my original PowerPoint presentation of like 45 minutes of me speaking and with workshops, because I don't want to just be speaking. I want us to be mindfully working at things together. Long story short, ended up being like a full, almost 2-hour conversation. And we had got kicked out of the studio because they had to bring in and move things around. And after I like finished, I was like, I did it. And I also did speak the whole time.
It's amazing what we can do when we put our mind to it, and what our unconscious mind will love to tell us that we can't do.
100%. And also too, just kind of like, I joined Toastmasters along the way because a long time ago, my professor said that I see there's potential in you. And the things that you should maybe do is thinking of taking some Toastmaster courses, because whatever that journey might lead you, I just feel like you're just definitely engaging in the room. Like you have that spark, you have that potential. And so he put Toastmasters in my brain. And so I have taken Toastmasters, and I kid you not, I probably cried up there every single.
Wow, to a 2-hour presentation. That's
So
amazing.
Before this presentation, I felt super sick. I had to go get like a ginger shot or whatever just to calm my stomach, because I was like, felt like I'm like, I need to like tap out. Like I feel like I'm not going to be successful. So going back to like those mind shifts and like telling yourself that you are enough, telling yourself that you are capable is really empowering.
It is. And that's what affirmations are, right? They're commands to ourselves. And when we repeat them over and over again, that's the auto suggestion, how we can start to change the programming on our own. Otherwise, it's usually like a catastrophe or an emergency or some kind of big breakdown. Like no one's looking to almost die before they make a health change, right? So when we can take the ownership ourselves and start to first hear the negative thoughts, that's the first thing, right? It's just to be aware. You hear them, because most people aren't conscious. Unfortunately, we're on autopilot. That's why I love cold plunging, because there's nothing, I mean, I love and hate it. There's nothing like, I don't know if love is the word, but there's nothing that brings you back to the present, like getting in water that's 10 degrees or less.
Yeah.
And when we can start to hear the thoughts that are on autopilot and that are unconscious, that gives us insight to that programming. That gives us insight to our upper limits, to our limiting decisions and limiting beliefs. And then we can literally just go, oh, I heard your negative thought. Here's what I would prefer. And here's my new I am command. I am capable. It's actually what I was saying just before I was coming on the show. I was like, I can do it. I can do it.
Yeah.
I have 2 shows. I've been almost 7 years now. I do public speaking and I'm still nervous. And the thought of I don't know enough always comes into my mind. And yet I've been intentionally studying for 2 decades, right? So that growth opportunity never goes away. Once you smash a glass ceiling, there's a new one. And so we just have to hear those thoughts, and then we can literally switch them and start repeating the new to ourselves. But if we aren't conscious to hear the negative thoughts, then they usually will run the show.
Yeah. And I think it's okay too. Like, this is the thing that I'm trying to like practice myself, is it's okay that you don't know all the answer. So when I went into the speaking opportunity, I was like, okay, like I gave my girlfriend, because she was going to be in the crowd, I'm like, you ask these questions, because like this is like nervous. Like I don't like being put on the spot. Like I don't like it makes me feel so uncomfortable, and I always feel like I need to have that perfect answer. And so when I did the speaking presentation, there was a lot of Q&As mixed within the conversation, and I actually really enjoyed it because everybody was super engaged. And then also there's one question that I didn't really fully know. Like I said to them, I was like, well, what I've learned so far is X, Y, and Z, but I highly recommend looking into an accountant for that piece. Like, or if you simply just don't know, just like, I don't know, but you know what? I can get back to you on that. Like the yes, I can kind of mechanism. Like I used to work at Painter's Lodge 100 years ago now, it feels like, but their slogan for all their employees is yes, I can model. So even though you might not know the answer, yes, I can still find out a solution for you, or give you that connection person that can be the yes, you can piece to get you to that next piece. That makes sense.
Absolutely. And I still remember that in our business school in nutrition,
Yeah.
we had to do presentations. We had to make vision boards for our business and present on it and learn how to present. And that was the one key thing that kept coming up. People were like, well, what if I don't have the answers? And she said the exact same thing you did. And so I always keep that in the back of my mind.
Yeah. And I think having that in the back of your mind is so powerful, because then once you kind of know how you can move past those pieces, like I feel then you can like easily start to move towards the goal that you're trying to go to. But like you're saying, like our unconscious mind does like definitely get in the way, like imposter syndrome. Like we've talked about imposter syndrome so much on the show. What's your take on imposter syndrome?
That's that unconscious glass ceiling. That's our self-image. There's a really great book called Psycho-Cybernetics, and highly recommend it.
I've heard
And
about
in it, he was a plastic surgeon. And so in it, he talks about how some people will get one surgery and radically transform. And somebody would be back for their 20th and they'd still hate themselves. It's because we have an inner self-image, an unconscious one, and then one that we project to the world.
Yeah.
And it's the inner self-image that is really the imposter, right? It's when we are trying to go beyond that, that's saying, no, you can't do it. That's that unconscious glass ceiling. That's the limiting beliefs, and that's your self-image. And so when we can start to change that, then we can go beyond it. So they say, embody it to become it, or fake it until you make it. And you actually have to do it and be it to have it. And everyone will go through that imposter syndrome. And we just have to learn to grow over it. Because guess what? Once we get the goal and we set a new goal, there's a new quote unquote imposter syndrome.
Exactly.
And I think there's a key limiting belief that's also usually linked with that. And it's, what will people say, or what will people think? And my joke is like, if I had $1 for every time my grandmother said, what would the neighbors say?
Yeah.
I would be a multi-millionaire just from that.
Yes.
And so it's ingrained, it's conditioned, it's taught to fear what other people will think. And so I think the imposter syndrome, not only is that, we're changing the self-image, there's this fear of not having approval or not being liked by everyone. Yeah. And so as much as we want to please everyone, we can't do it at the expense of ourselves. So especially when a lot of new business owners are launching online, they usually say, I have old friends and family and what have you on my socials, or they're watching, or they don't believe, or they've said this. And it's learning that my coach used to say, they don't pay your bills. Other people's opinions don't pay your bills. Right. Yeah. And if we allow those to rob us of our dreams, we don't get to have the impact that we truly desire. So I believe we'll always keep coming up against that imposter syndrome as we grow and go to get the next goal. It's just when we can have a picture of it and see that, oh, it's just an image that I was conditioned to believe that I can't go beyond that.
Yeah.
Now I can redesign her or reimagine her and embody her to become her. And I talk about it like it's easy, but it's probably one of the hardest things for people to do because those limiting beliefs and negative thoughts get really loud when we try to go to get a new goal. And that's why community is important.
Yeah. And they say stat-wise, like 80% of all of us have faced imposter syndrome thoughts one way or the other. And the one thing that I like to bring in my presentations to kind of like hit home on imposter syndrome, usually it shows up as young as age 6. That studies have shown that it's starting to show up as young as age 6. So if you think about it, like we have always kind of in a way have seen some kind of stops along the way for ourselves as younger years in life. So which is like, to me, when I found that set out, because my kiddo is now 7-ish, but when I found that out, I was like, oh, wow, like, how can then I change my narrative or how I speak to make sure that we're kind of like nurturing those pieces, because those can totally affect them so young without even knowing it.
Oh, absolutely. And it's the conversations that are happening around you. It's the conditioning that's happening around you. I remember being young and I was a competitive figure skater and I really wanted to go farther with it. And my parents were not rich, but we weren't poor. We were, doing quite well. Yet they were conditioned with a lack of money mindset. So I was taught, well, skating is so expensive. And so I had already told myself I can't become it because it costs money.
Yeah.
And that would have been before the age of 12. And so these are the limiting beliefs and the imposter syndrome that comes in, that well-meaning parents and society and everyone does their best with what they have. And it is conditioning the young around us. And then that's their model that they will create their life from, unless they change it or unless some catastrophe comes in to change it. And so it is so, we don't want to scare people because you can change it. But I do remember like being afraid to say things to my niece or nephew because I thought, I don't want to condition them in a certain way. So I've heard a lot of great practitioners, even a priest say, you can say, I need a do-over, right? So that your child also understands we're human. We make mistakes. What comes out the first time may be a reaction and not a response. And can I get a do-over so they could see how you would prefer it? How you would like to see them behave, and that they also know it's okay that we don't have to be perfect all the time.
Yeah. And I feel like we in society, just with the presence of social media, such more in the forefront and so much more present, I feel like should be interesting to see what stats are like of how much that kind of interconnects more further for kids too. Because we're I was in the millennial stage. So it's more or less, it's crazy to think, but dial up.
Yeah, I know. We joke we had a Commodore 64. Remember when it first could connect to the internet? Before that, all you had was Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Right? And you played with a joystick. And now my niece is teaching me things that I can do on my smartphone that I didn't even know when she's 12. Right? She's like, I'm like, how do you make, she wanted to make us a dessert. So I was like, can you make it vegan caramel? So she goes, asks ChatGPT and comes back and lets me know. And I'm like, that's it, eh? That's the magic, the access that they have, the access to knowledge. It's amazing. And at the same time, with the social channels, there are some serious stats about mental health issues and suicides that have gone up more than 100-fold. Especially in young girls, because of the comparison, because of the unrealistic expectations, and because of the negative neurological effects of constantly being on a smartphone, the blue lights, the 7-second dopamine hits from the reels. It's really important actually for parents to be mindful the amount of time that their kids get to spend on it. And I just recently was chatting with a mother who there was an incident of bullying at school. And so she decided to remove the devices from their kids. They get that if they're doing their homework. And then other than that, they have to do a chore and they can have a half hour, but she basically removed it from them. And she said the behavior change was amazing. No more breakdowns when they were asked to do something. They just did it. There might've been a little I don't want you. And then they do it. It's not like this huge emotional breakdown, which a lot of children are having because irregulated emotional responses, which is normal for children, right? Yeah. It's just really heightened because of all the device use that we're using.
Yes. Yeah. The kids have a time limit on their tablets. We try to it's nice with the kid-friendly tablets because you can time it so it locks them out.
Yes. My sister does.
Yeah. So they know how to get out of it now. I was like,
well, my sister has it set up. I think it's with their Rogers account. She can turn the internet off to any of their devices right from an app. So they have timers on how long they're allowed to use the internet on their devices. And then also it gets turned off automatically at a certain time at night and doesn't get turned on until a certain time in the morning, until they're ready for school, their chores are done and what have you. And she's just started really implementing and improving this in the last little bit. And before the age of like 7, they almost never had it.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I'll see if, like, we're using TELUS, so I'll have to see if they have anything like that. Wouldn't see why not, because I think Rogers is like TELUS and TELUS is Rogers, but
I don't know, but I'm sure they'll have something coming because everything is changing so quickly with AI and all our access to tools.
Yeah. But on that, with the just social media platforms for all of us, doesn't matter what age we are, unfortunately, we do get those, like, well, even true, like when you're like, oh, see another business that's like maybe like yours, and they put something nice and shiny there, you're like, how are they becoming so successful? And I'm just drowning. And there's so many people that have come up to me being like, I see you everywhere, like da da da, or you're killing it. Or I'm like, I'm just surviving this year. Like, you don't see behind the scenes. Like, I would say, like, 2025 has been such a hard year. That's why I haven't done so many lives this year on the show, is because the kids need me and they are my number one priority. So I've had to make moves and adjustment on my end. But like, what you see on social media is not necessarily what's really happening behind the scenes. And I think the more we tell ourselves that, and then maybe also give each other more compassion, I think would be amazing in the crazy world that we are now in right now.
Yeah. And honestly, most people are only showing the good stuff, right? So that's where that comparisonitis comes in. Yes. And we start comparing ourselves to other people's journey. And everybody is here on their own journey, and it's going to look a certain way for everyone for whatever that reason is meant to be. And it just is what it is. And we have to be mindful to watch our.
Just stood out so much is that how more authentic can I be? Because I'm like, oh, I did a speaking panel. That's what it was. And it was all about like women supporting women. And I was like, well, I'll just say that it's great when we can find women supporting women, but unfortunately it's taken me a long time to find my community, and I'm trying to find it still. And like, I did start to cry on the panel. And I had so many people come up to me being like, I'm in like the same time frame of your business as well, and I feel you on that piece. Because it's not always, sometimes like it's easy to find a community. It's sometimes really hard. I find, like, especially for me who is neurodivergent, sometimes people are like, oh, like, but it's like, no, it's just I think differently. And sometimes I have, like, you know, the ADHD, like you overshare sometimes. What is it called?
I don't know.
There's a name for it. And sometimes I overshare and I was like, oh, too much information.
TMI. And that's also just part of who you are. And that's beautiful. And we want to just learn to love people exactly as they are without that judgment, because that's actually negative emotion that you've been conditioned to believe that we have to, especially for females. If we look back in history, we're pinned against each other, right? We were competition, being sold for our husbands. We have to learn to start to actually come together and support one another. Yes. And I would say, like, to be an entrepreneur, and then is about 10 to 12% of the population. So you're already in a small ecosystem. And then you want to be a conscious entrepreneur. So there's an even smaller ecosystem. And they say, you know, the highest heights are lonely up there.
Yeah.
Because it's a small part of the population that's willing to go there, or had the conditioning, or has done the work to be conscious. And so it can be quite a lonely journey for those who are, you know, trying to change the world or go out and build something themselves, because you're probably part of the 5 to 10% of the population that's doing that. And so we got to search and find those people. And sometimes the hard part is you think you found them, and then you grow and they don't.
Yes.
And then you're like, oh, I thought I had my community, and now it's time to go and find a new one. So I think even if you can find one person that you can lock arms with, I'm really blessed to have a sister, so that she's stuck with me for life. We'll always have each other. and be able to share and support. And she studied in Bob's Proctor's programs with me, so she has the conscious awareness. And it's part of the journey. So finding the things to learn to love for yourself and the things to support you on that journey and the right people and the right community is important, because it can get lonely and can get scary when you are out there all on your own.
Yep. And like, the huge theory that everyone is really like reading right now, the book Mel Robbins and the Let Them theory. Like, I actually didn't even know it was a book before I found like a poem on social media, and it didn't say Mel Robbins, so I don't even know, but it was just like part of like the let me theory, let them let me, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I really interconnected with it and ended up getting like a tattoo on it, because like right here, so I can remind myself like when I'm not invited to certain things, or if I don't seem to like really fit into the crowd, because I want to be very ethical, and I want see that change in the world. And so I'm like, well, let them just judge me, and I will let me focus on me and what the community I want to build. And so like starting putting more of your energy over there than focusing on like what people are really narrowing you in or classifying you in a box. So the more power you give yourself versus them is like so different. Like, I've been workshopping that so much the last 2 years.
Yeah, I actually was just talking to a friend as well who's constantly on a transformation journey. Mm-hmm. And she was noting that some of the hardest part right now is everyone is still expecting her to be her old self and trying to keep her in that box. And when she's showing up as this new self, it's causing them to be triggered. Mm. And this is quite common. So even when we go to grow and change, if we don't start to change our environment or set boundaries so we're treated differently, we will go back to that same, because people called the crab in the bucket syndrome, right? So one crab, if a crab is trying to get out of the bucket and there's a bucket of crabs, the other crabs will pull it back down to keep it in the bucket with them. And so they don't do it maliciously. People, the crabs might, but I mean, people don't do it maliciously. They're doing it unconsciously, because if you're going beyond from where you were and you're changing and you're growing, you're now a mirror to them of what they're not doing. They're not going after their deepest desires. They're not going to leave that legacy. They've not decided, but they're stuck with the conditioned programming. And so what they call it, our projection, is our perception. So what we end up doing is they're projecting onto you the anger, the resentment, the guilt, the shame that they actually feel about themselves. They just don't know it consciously.
That's
and with some of the love and compassion.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I find too, like, I always just say, I'm like, I just feel like they need a hug right now.
We could all use a little bit more oxytocin and a nice hug. Absolutely. The world could use a lot more hugging.
Yes. Like, I was at a networking event and I had somebody like actually come up to me, or I was like getting introduced. I was there with my client. They introduced me to somebody that I actually had crossed paths along the way doing a discovery call. And I gave them the proposal and never really heard from them since, until that interaction. And they just attacked me at a networking event in front of like 60 plus people that my prices were way too high.
That's too bad for them, because that shows a money paradigm or a money belief or a lack, right? Yeah. So how could you charge so much and you be worthy of such if I'm not?
Yeah.
And so that attack was all about them and not about you. And that's the hard part, is people are not their behavior. They're their conditioning.
I was like standing there though. I was just kind of like in a shock. Like, usually I would just cry in the moment. But I was just like kind of like taken back. Like, is this actually happening right now? Like, wow. Like, I was very professional and just said like, unfortunately, I paired you with not unfortunately, but like I paired you with somebody who's top notch. Like, that's our price model. Like, I appreciate your intake, but we just weren't the right fit. And like, I just kind of like left it like that. And then she like I could tell like she was just watching me, and I was like, just anger. I was like, what is wrong? And so after the fact, me and my client left, and she's like, you did such a good job at handling that. I'm like, I'm still in shock that just happened. And I just, as soon as we got in the car, I just cried.
Yeah, your nervous system is like, okay, now we can let go. Yeah,
Like,
no one likes to be judged, right?
no, like, and especially in a networking event that's supposed to be so inclusive and like supporting of each other. Like, I was like, wow, like that's the one place not to take it. But, you know, you learn from the experience. And I was just like, at the end of it, I just said to my client, I was like, I just think that maybe they needed a hug in that moment. Like,
Yeah.
maybe there's definitely something else going on there, and I'm not going to dwell on it, but just kind of like, wow. And so when we're
Yeah.
all going in those kind of motions, like just talking, like chiming in on like what you're saying, like you never know what somebody's going through, and how can we come from like the compassion side. And like I keep trying to like, you know, move, like I've always been like the kind of person like, okay, well, what can we do here and help you here, like from different angles, and really try to understand where the person's coming from. So we can work together or not at all, but at least you're set up for success too.
Yeah. And we want to send love to that person because you know what? We don't know we like to say we don't know what's going on behind what's going on. Her husband could have just left her and she needed an outlet. Like we don't have any idea. So we send love and compassion. And I know that you meet all the people you connect with and you serve them in the best and highest way. And if not, then you serve them in another way to work with somebody else or a resource, or any of us conscious entrepreneurs would do that. Right.
Yeah.
And so guess what? It's probably not the first or last time. Like there'll be a lot more things. Hopefully cancel. Actually, it's just going to be smooth going forward. And it just means we get to ruffle feathers and be a mirror to other people of what could be possible for them.
Yes. Yeah. I wanted to talk a bit more about like, how do you begin to live your life by design, the default? Because I know we kind of briefly touched a little bit more on it, but I'm looking at the time and I feel like that's kind of like a perfect way to kind of bring everything together a little bit.
The first is learning, studying, knowledge, awareness, right? The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard is one of my favorite books. It's an incredible book. Mm-hmm. And without the awareness, one, that there's something that needs to change, we won't even then be willing to change. So it all starts with awareness, which means owning it and using that law of cause and effect, which means we take responsibility for everything, which sometimes can be hard because it's human habit to give everything a meaning. And so when we are looking at things that say aren't working and we want to change them, we want to have that transformation, we often then have a pity party because then we feel really bad. We give it a meaning. We have a story. And so what if we could just have an awareness and start to be an observer? What's not working? What would I prefer? And then you have to learn to be disciplined in your thoughts, in your actions, in your habits, and you have to study, learn about who you are, how you function, master your craft. And then once you can start to create an awareness around what's not working and you're taking responsibility, then you can actually start to make a change. And so I gave a little hint earlier, right? A little tip that you can use auto-suggestion. So we look at the contrast. So there's this saying that everything around us is a mirror to show us, all of our results are a mirror to show us where our thoughts, feelings, and actions have been previously. That's all. And if we can change the thoughts, feelings, and actions, the results will start to mirror something back to us. And so we need to start to be aware of what are our thoughts, unconscious and conscious. What are our habits that we're doing? And our habits are things we do every single day unconsciously. And how can we replace them? And so once we know what the contrast is and we're taking responsibility and we decide what we prefer, our beliefs show up in habits. So what habit could you replace the negative habit with? Everything starts with the habit. So if you really, truly want to change and have transformation, pick one thing. that you're doing right now that's not getting you towards that goal?
Mm-hmm.
And what can you replace it with? And just start switching out one habit at a time and just sticking to it for 90 days. Because that's how we start to get new results. But it really first starts with awareness, studying, discipline, and letting the stories go and learning to be the observer without giving things meaning so that we can decide and pick something that we like to change to something else.
Yeah, I love that. The first thing that came to my brain when you said 90 days, I'm like, oh, that's a long time.
Yeah, because most people think, oh, change a habit in 21 days. Well, did you know that 80% of the population gave up on their goals by January 17th because they tried to force the habit? They're trying to will it to happen without changing the unconscious programming. And so it really does take about 60 to 90 days to build a habit. So even if you picked 4 habits to change this year and did 1 per quarter, and what we encourage is actually 1 personally and 1 professionally. So if you could start to change 1 per quarter and replace it, like staying up too late and instead going to bed early, instead of watching an hour of TV at night, exercising or moving for that hour, instead of skipping your business power hour and doing operations, do the business power hour, because without it, we'll have no one to sell and no one to serve, right? So it's those little switches. And then it's that new command, because remember I said before, we have behaviors that have secondary gains.
Yes. Yeah.
So what is that secondary gain behavior trying to validate for you? I'm unworthy. I can't be an entrepreneur. We have to be aware of those beliefs, and then we can start to switch them so that when we go to do the thing, we can command to ourselves, we are this. And so it has to be over and over and over again until that programming really changes.
Have you heard of the 75-day challenge? It's like a
hard 75 or something when you commit to the
like I was actually just watching that on TikTok the other day, and I was like, maybe I should try that. So like 75 days of like, you do, was it 30 minutes at least of a workout? No, an hour. So at least 30 minutes of some kind of workout in the morning and 30 in the afternoon, and then you also read like 10 pages of a book.
Yeah, actually, have you read The Slight Edge?
No.
So other than Harry Potter, it's probably the only book that I read for 30 days straight. I would say it's like the simplified version of Atomic Habits and Think and Grow Rich, all put in the simplest, most amazing book. And so it's usually one of the first books I recommend to everyone for habit change. Because in The Slight Edge, he talks about it's the little mundane things that we do day in and day out to compound over time to equal success. And so most people will do them for the 21 days or the 60. And they start to get the results, and then they stop doing the thing.
And they go down.
And so and they go down, and then they're like, what was I doing? And they never get to thrive it. Excuse me. And so it's, we use a habit tracker. I say it's like the unsexiest thing to have to track our habits all the time.
Right here.
Yeah. And it's the one thing that will change your life. What you track improves. And there's no make wrong. And it's actually amazing. You'd be so surprised at what you actually do in a day when you start to track it. Often we're like our own worst critic. We're so mean to ourselves. And then we looked at our habit tracker, we're like, wait, look at all the things I did today. And when you start using a habit tracker, guess what? It's probably going to be empty for the first week or two, or only have a couple check marks. And that's okay, because you're building a habit. And so the 75 to 90 days is where it's going to start to be unconscious.
Got it.
Where you can now go, it's part of your now self-image. Like, I work out every day.
Yeah. And like for me personally, like that's always been like working out. Like I've like 100, like I prefer to go swimming than working out. Like that was my thing. And so now after years of not swimming and all the things, like for me to even think about working out, it's like, I don't like it. So why would I do it? But I've been researching and doing like other things, and my husband gave this game over. So it's like a workout, like during, I guess it was like really big during COVID, and people lost like 40 to 50 pounds. I can't remember the name of it, but long story short, I started playing with it, and I'm like, it's super fun. And I'm doing like all the squats, all the running, all the things in a video game in the house just to even get 30 minutes moving. And then lately I've been doing like walks every 30 minutes in the evening too with the dog, who more or less takes me for a walk. But
yeah.
I'm a big husky.
Oh my goodness. I
He's,
love them. I just think of that happy dog video, happy
yeah,
dog. And I think they're beautiful dogs. But yeah, I could see that it would walk you.
yeah. He's a big giraffe. But yeah, for that, like thinking of that, that's why I was thinking of like having like that, like having sticky notes somewhere to kind of like follow in the piece. Because for me, like I like your idea of the habit tracker. Is it kind of like a spreadsheet? Can you just let us know more
Yeah,
about?
so that's actually a Google Sheet. It's a
Okay.
customizable, and we give you a template. So you make a copy of the template, and then just it's self and business mastery. So you can start with those, and then you would pick your 1 to 2 habits per quarter, and you would add them onto the tracker, and you
Amazing.
start to track it. And there's 2 ways that we do it. One is just like checking that you actually did it. And then when you get to the more advanced version, you're actually scoring yourself in how you showed up doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So did you show up as that new self-image, or did you show up in the fear, worry, doubt, what will people think? So it's one thing to show up and do your sales power hour. And it's another thing to show up and do it believing in your impact and that you can make millions of dollars. And so it's one is like getting in the habit of doing it. And then the second is getting in the habit of doing it and showing up, embodying that highest version of yourself.
Amazing. For anyone listening, it's www.ownitempire.com/habit tracker. Is it just, where is it located on your website?
Yeah, so if you go to ownitempire.com, it's literally right in the forefront. Currently, right now, it's right in the forefront. There's a button, big pink button that says like, grab the habit tracker now.
Amazing. And maybe you want to share the abundance.
Yeah, so I actually just audited and redid the NLP course last fall because, as I said, there was so much to learn. Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to get a lot better at hypnosis because I think it's one of the coolest ways to change the unconscious mind.
Yeah.
You're going to begin to auto-suggest to yourself these new affirmations. Mm-hmm. And you're going to get yourself into a trance state first. So a trance state just is a relaxed state that allows us to access the theta brainwave state where we can access your unconscious mind more and more easily do the rewiring and the reprogramming. And so at Christmas time, I made a business abundance hypnosis for my clients. And we came up with the affirmations together. So we looked at like, what are the limiting beliefs? What's not working? All right, what would we prefer? What would be these new affirmations? And so I made this originally as a gift and everyone loved it. So now I give it as a free gift for everybody. And it's our business abundance hypnosis. And so it's a beautiful little piece in the beginning that helps get you into a super nice, relaxed state. And then it's new commands and affirmations for you to believe, to reprogram your subconscious mind to believe in being a successful and profitable, abundant entrepreneur.
Oh, I love that. I'll have to download that.
Yeah,
it sounds so good. And is it just on your homepage there as well?
So ownitempire.com, we've got everything listed at the top. So you'll see the free abundance hypnosis there, or you can just go to ownitempire.com/abundance.
Amazing. Well, we're pretty much at time here. Is there any last minute takeaways for anybody listening and how they can find you?
The biggest takeaway I'd say is our current and our past circumstances do not drive your future. Your family, your friends, your environment, they don't have to be the drivers of your future. You can change and you can create transformation and you can have something different. And all of it actually really first, we have to get into that state of possibility. So there's really 2 sides of the coin, right? Fear, worry, doubt, anxiety, shame, guilt. There's all the negative side. Mm-hmm. And that's always going to be there because that's your ego's job to keep you safe and the same when you go to change. And so instead, we want you to start to focus on the positive side of the coin. And again, that's going to be that conscious awareness where you're choosing to focus on that. And so that means we have to get into a state of possibility. and begin to believe in new things and believe that we can change and we can have those results. And so when we can get into that state of possibility and choose to stay on that side of the coin, the possibility side versus the fear side, so much in your life can change for you. So just start to be aware where that imposter syndrome, that fear, that those lack thoughts are starting to rob you of your dream and what's possible for you, and the legacy you want to leave, and the impact that you want to have, and the life you want to live. You actually came to live a life of abundance and peace and harmony and peace and heaven on earth for the highest good of all and for all involved. And some conditioning came along to tell us else, told us something else. And so now that you are slightly aware and you've learned some more, let's change. Let's make that change. And it all first starts with deciding on what you really want. And then get into the state of a possibility and actually allow yourself to dream and visualize. Because the thoughts that you're currently having, the behaviors, the feelings or actions that you're doing, they've all gotten you here, which is amazing. And it's not going to get you to where you want to go. Somebody who earns 6 figures a year doesn't have the same thoughts as someone who earns 7 figures a year. So cast yourself out, create a future memory. I am a 7-figure income earner. What would be different? What thoughts would be different? How could I show up differently? Who would be different in my environment? And start to actually believe and see it within your mind. Because your mind thinks in pictures and it comes to pass. Environment is but our looking glass. And so our results are going to tell us where our thinking is. And so when we can change the thinking, we can change our results. And as we said earlier, the skill set and the mindset, they do go hand in hand. They are important. And it first is going to start with your mind. Otherwise, we're not even going to get started. And guess what? Whether it's the transformation journey or the entrepreneur journey, it's going to be a journey, and it's going to be a roller coaster. I call it the transformation tornado, because if it was super easy, we'd all do it. And it's going to require something of you. So what is actually going to make it happen is your why. Why do you want it? Why is it important for you? What is it going to allow for you? And stay in that state of possibility and allow yourself to start to have these new thoughts that this new version of you would have, so that you can come out on the other side of this transformation tornado with your goals achieved. Because 80% of the population will jump in and decide they're not enough, it's not safe, they're too afraid, and they will go back to where they were. But here's the thing. The chicken cannot go back in the egg. So you're you actually really want to go over here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yet you're over here. And this is where dis-ease sets in. And so we know in the biology of belief, every single thought has a physiological response in the body, the study of epigenetics. So we want to start to change that so that we can change our results. And it's going to require something of you. So have a strong why that will help you get over that transformation tornado and come out on the other side.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Heather. You ended on an amazing takeaways. Love it. I'll have to re-listen to all of that again. But I just was so excited to have you on today, because I just know you're just so valuable of information, all the things that I just love to learn about. So thank you so much for coming on today, Heather. A big thank you to all our listeners out there, and a big thank you again to United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network. And with that, everyone, remember your journey is unique and your worth is unquestionable. We'll see you next week live.